This is a bird's eye view of Yearby Airstrip. The airstrip at Turner's Arms Farm, Yearby, was established to support local aviation interests in 1972 and has been in continuous and safe use since then. It's the only viable airstrip in East Cleveland and District and continues as an asset of community value, used by pilots from all over the UK. This is a plan of the circuit at Yearby Airstrip, which conforms with standard aviation practice, as taught to generations of pilots. After takeoff from the airstrip, the aeroplane climbs out straight ahead, in this case to the west. After reaching a safe height, the pilot then turns left, onto a base leg to climb further and fly away. This is the published procedure at Yearby. All circuits at Yearby Airstrip are to the south, to avoid flying over houses or industrial areas. The path of the base leg will vary a little according to the performance of the aeroplane, that is, its speed and rate of climb, but in all cases safe operation will be affected by the massive physical barrier and turbulence that the planned 140-metre turbines impose. Unlike the actual turbines, the turbulence created is usually an invisible hazard, but can be seen in this picture due to the prevailing weather at the time. The turbulence from a wind turbine is particularly dangerous, not just because it can't be seen, but the rotational vortices which will affect even larger aeroplanes and be a potential disaster for smaller aeroplanes. The Civil Aviation Authority advises in Civil Aviation publication CAP 764, the range of significant turbulence is calculated to be 16D, that is, 16 times the blade diameter. In this case, 16 times 112 metres equals 1,800 metres from the turbines. The CAA also addresses physical obstructions in CAP 793, safe operating procedures at unlicensed aerodromes. This advises that there should be no obstacles greater than 45.7 metres above the average runway elevation within 2,000 metres of the runway midpoint. The planned turbines are over 3 times that height at 140 metres and within 1,350 metres of the runway midpoint, which amounts to a whole new order of magnitude of what would possibly be considered safe. Aeroplanes have to take off and land into wind, in this first case described to the west. Now we will look at the pilot's view from the cockpit for a take-off to the west, towards the planned turbines. The airstrip at Yearby is 640 metres. The aeroplane in this video will have taken off and be climbing out at 110 miles per hour by the end of the strip, and be accelerating to 120 miles per hour, heading safely towards the left turn of the base leg of the circuit. This will be only about 15 to 20 seconds after takeoff. If the planned turbines are erected before the aeroplane gets anywhere near, it will be affected by turbulence, and in this case the massive structure will dramatically alert the pilot's sense of preservation and will demand a substantial safety margin from the structures. Clearly these turbines are a significant danger to aircraft. Let's look at what further advice the Civil Aviation Authority has to offer. In Civil Aviation publication 764 on Policy and Guidelines on Wind Turbines, which is aimed at providing aviation stakeholders, the general public and local planning authorities with advice on considering applications for wind turbines. Paragraph 1.12 states, in all cases, regardless of the status of the aerodrome, any development that causes pilots to experience or simply perceive an increase in difficulty when using an aerodrome may lead to loss of utility. The CAA considers that if the aerodrome manager or equivalent advises that the aerodrome's established amenity would be affected by a development, their advice can generally be considered as expert testimony. Now let's look at the safety problems imposed when the wind is in an easterly direction. In this case, with the turbines located on such a critical part of the circuit, a safe landing will be virtually impossible for many aeroplanes. The aeroplane will join the circuit downwind before turning right onto the base leg. During this phase, the aeroplane is already continuing to be set up for the landing. The engine power is reduced, the aeroplane will be slowing down and descending, adjusting the rate of descent, and hence the speed, continuing into the right turn onto final approach. The aeroplane has to arrive on the correct flight path and speed at the threshold of the runway. Most people recognise the approach and landing as the most critical part of flying. The government recognised the hazard to air safety that wind turbines impose. So in the government overarching National Policy Statement for Energy (EN1), Aviation paragraph 5.4.2, it is stated unequivocally, UK airspace is important for both civil and military aviation interests. It is essential that safety of UK aerodromes is not adversely affected by new energy infrastructure. Similarly, aerodromes can have important economical and social benefits, particularly at the regional and local level. Clearly, air safety trumps wind turbines. Any which way you look at it, this site is totally inappropriate for wind turbines and the threat to air safety they impose.